Dozens let out of prison under emergency release scheme were freed by mistake. The government does not work. About 1,700 prisoners were released from jails across England and Wales on 10th September in a bid to cut overcrowding. It wasn't exactly to cut overcrowding, it was to make a lot of space for those pesky right wingers who turned up at a riot and yelled at a police dog or spooked a horse. You spooked the horse? Oh, 4 years. You know what? I'm having fun, so I'm just going to keep saying it until I get told to stop. Have you been in an accident that wasn't your fault? Well, then you could be entitled to compensation. Nobody likes getting lowballed and given the runaround while at their lowest. And I know what it's like to be left stressed out of my mind and buried in paperwork while trying to keep a case moving forward. It is very, very hard. There must be an easier way. Well, Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, is there to streamline the entire process so that you can keep up with everything from your smartphone if you become their client. All you have to do to get started is answer a few questions, and then Morgan & Morgan will get the ball rolling with a free case evaluation. And from there, a crack team picked from a roster of over 1,000 lawyers across all 50 US states will take care of the rest. And if having a team of lawyers, paralegals, and investigators isn't enough, then 24/7 support is available for more than 6 cohorts of support staff, or almost 4,000 if you're not Rome-pilled. Point is, there will always be someone on hand to answer any questions that you might have. And with this much manpower at their disposal, you can be sure that Morgan & Morgan will be able to fight for the best result possible, having already recovered over $20 billion for more than 3 million clients. But if Morgan & Morgan is not able to win your case, then the fee is completely free. So, if you've been seriously injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan by going to forthepeople.com/Count Dankula or clicking the link down in the description to get started on your claim. Dozens of people released from jail under the government's emergency prison plan scheme were freed by mistake. A Ministry of Justice source said 37 people were released in error on 10th September because their offences for breaching restraining orders were wrongly logged under repealed legislation. This meant these cases were not flagged for exemptions, which were designed to prevent those guilty of certain types of crimes from being released. 5 prisoners have not yet been returned to jail, but most have been brought back into custody. One of those mistakenly released is understood to have allegedly reoffended, charged with intentionally touching a woman. He was recalled to prison. Well done, a woman was sexually assaulted because of your fuck up. Congratulations. Well done. A Ministry of Justice spokesperson said, "Public safety is our first priority. That is why we took decisive action to fix the broken prison system we inherited and keep the most dangerous offenders locked up. This included blocking the early release of domestic abuse offences such as stalking and controlling behaviour. We are working with the police to urgently return a very small number of offenders who were charged incorrectly and sentenced under repealed legislation to custody. The convictions remain valid, with offenders monitored since their release and will soon be back behind bars." In a post on X, Shadow Home Secretary James Cleverly criticised the government for wrong priorities and bad decisions. "The British people can see this clueless, heartless Labour government for what it is," he added. About 1,700 prisoners were released from jails across England and Wales on 10th September. I assume all completely rehabilitated, of course, and none of them are going to reoffend. On 10th September, in a bid to cut overcrowding, with thousands more anticipated to be freed in October. This is in addition to around 1,000 prisoners who are typically freed each week. Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood announced plans in July to temporarily cut the proportion of sentences inmates must serve behind bars from 50% to 40%, so you only need to serve less than half your sentence. Wonderful. That came as the Ministry of Justice said overcrowding had pushed jails to the point of collapse. Downing Street said the policy had to be brought in to avoid unchecked criminality where the police and courts are unable to lock anyone up. The policy does not apply to those convicted of sex offences, terrorism, domestic abuse, or some violent offences. That is not true. There have been people released who have been convicted of those offences. But campaigners and charities warned that the scheme may come at the expense of women and children's safety, while others raised concerns that it would put a strain on probation services. Prison figures have warned that the move will only buy time for about a year before the same issue could be faced again, because unfortunately, when you have an authoritarian government, they tend to lock a lot of people up, especially for speech offences and saying naughty, naughty, naughty words about our protected classes of people that live in this country, who were not born here. Nicole Jacobs, the Domestic Abuse Commissioner for England and Wales, said that she is deeply concerned, adding anyone breaching a restraining order is likely to be a high-risk individual. This kind of error is why I have called on government to exclude all perpetrators of domestic abuse from the SDS 40 scheme, regardless of their conviction, she added. Probation should not rely on an individual's index offence to determine risk, but use local intelligence to understand if there is a history of abuse and exempt them from early release on that basis. However, unfortunately, one thing that's very important to point out is women lie a lot all the time. So, yes, I feel in danger. Keep him in jail. Of course she's going to say that. I am encouraged that virtually all offenders released early appear to have been recalled, and efforts have been made to rectify the error so it cannot happen again. However, a woman was assaulted as a result of this, so, that's kind of on you. Right. Now, these people are getting let out early. None of them are going to be rehabilitated. None of them will be. Right. I'm sorry, it's not. They're going to get out and they're going to reoffend again. Right. And basically, why don't you just build another prison? Why isn't that just an easy thing to do? You're the government. You control everything. Why is it not an easy thing to do? Oh, it's because of your own bureaucratic system, isn't it? Where it will probably take about 3 years of paperwork to give yourself permission to build it. And then you're like, but the money, it's going to cost so much money. Because one thing that I know happens, because I know a lot of contractor friends of mine, is whenever the government contacts them for anything, they give triple the quote. They triple their usual quote. And do you want to know the hilarious thing? The government pays it every single time. Because it's not their money. They don't care. Some little Jobsworth sitting at the local council will just read that email and he wants to go for his lunch or to play tennis or squash or whatever the hell it is that loser government employees do when they're not stealing everyone's money. They just go, what, £10,000 to paint a fence? Yeah, whatever, that's fine. Do it in 3 months. The guy could go down on Monday, but no, do it in 3 months because paperwork. And they don't care. They don't care. I know contractor mates, as soon as they get a government contract, they triple their quote and the government pays it every single time. And everyone's wondering why the government doesn't have any fucking money. Right, so that's why can't they just build a prison? Because the actual cost of that prison, triple it or quadruple it. Because what the government does is it goes and finds private companies to come and build these prisons. And because it's private companies, they pure go, government contract? Increase the quote. The government is terrible with money. You probably realise this. And if you didn't, then you've been living under a rock.